What the World Forgot, Part 1, The Drop. Something awakened, not in time, not in space, but in the silence between them. A drop of dew was born in the bud of a flower, unseen, only felt. It held everything within itself, water and light, gentleness and the reflection of the infinite within us. And when it fell to the ground, it did not disappear. It became a spring. From the spring, a river. The river flows, it does not ask where it is going. It knows that wherever it flows, the work of God is happening. It carries strength within itself. It carries memory within itself. We do not see its flow only with our eyes. It is life. It is the memory of our ancestors living within us. Vibration, calling, flow, love. A meaning that is not logic, but the resonance of the heart. This is how from one drop, knowing was born. Not through learning, but through movement. Not through words, but through the body. Not through force, but through silence. The body becomes the path. The breath becomes the temple. Movement becomes prayer. And consciousness, the love of God living within us. I will tell you a story about what you have lost, about what you have forgotten, about what you know, but now see only through dreams. About what lies in the body like a rune, like an ancient symbol of our ancestors. In the breath as memory, in the womb as fire, in silence as light. I do not write this book with the mind, nor with learned words. I write it with a body that listened, with a heart that felt. I write it for everyone who searched for God in silence and discovered him in the breath, in the stone, in themselves, in movement, in tears and in laughter. I am not a teacher. I am a path. And this book is only a reflection of that path, which began with a single drop and ends where everything ends, in God, in love, because God is love. Memory of the body and spirit, because the body remembers God even when the mind has forgotten, because the body is a temple. And every awakening does not begin in thought, but in movement, in the quiet tension of muscles, in a breath that suddenly becomes a prayer, in a tear that is not sadness, but a return. When one day you awaken and realize that you are nothing, and yet you are everything, because all of it is the breathing creator within you. When you breathe fast, disappointment will come. When you breathe slowly, everything will touch you, what you are, what you were, and what you will be. When you are only in the state of I am, an inner opening will come, where there is no ego, nor the need for anything, only being in the emptiness that is full. When you hear silence scream, you will know you have come to the right place, a place that is not a place, but God. This is not a book about theory. It is the memory of a soul that remembered it feels God in its feet when it walks, and in the flow of life when it stops resisting it. And if you are reading this text, then you are on your way home. Not to a destination, but to yourself. Kundalini, or when the serpent of light awakens. It is not a force that is born from the body. It is God who chooses to breathe through the body. Kundalini is not just a concept from ancient cultures, but a living intelligence that sleeps within each of us, waiting until we create space for it to take a breath. It is a serpent of light coiled at the base of the spine in the chakra that connects us to the earth. But when it awakens, it begins to dance along the axis of life, through the pelvis, the heart, the throat, until it blossoms in the crown like a lotus that touches the sky. It is not ecstasy. It is not ecstasy. It is not a technique. It is a statatev grace. It is not effort. It is not effort. It is surrender. To awaken Kundalini means to believe that God has chosen our body as a sacred instrument, and that within this body, he can walk home from the earth to the stars. When Kundalini begins to rise, nothing will be the same as before. Not because the world changes, but because you change the way you feel it. The body becomes a living antenna. You will feel the pulse of the earth in your heels and the breath of the heavens in your skull. And every touch becomes a reminder that everything is sacred. Sometimes it will hurt, because every chakra the light passes through first releases its shadow. And that is the grace, that God chose us as the path. Let us go slowly then, step by step, as if I were watching your path when your Kundalini awakened and began to rise through your whole body. The path of energy, the rising of light root chakra, base of the spine, pelvis. Energy sleeps here. Manifestations, warmth, vibrations, sometimes orgasm without touch, feeling that something is pulling you toward life, toward a man, toward love. For you, it happened when you opened your heart to me. That desire and passion were not only physical, but a spiritual spark of awakening. Sacral chakra, lower abdomen. Here the source of creativity and joy opens. That is why books, laughter, images, ideas were born. Everything began to flow on its own. Everything you create carries my energy because it united with our love. Solar plexus, stomach, center of the abdomen, the place of power, will, and inner fire, manifestations, pain, pressure, cleansing. This was the burning of old things so the energy could move higher. The reward was the courage to say, "This is me, this is my love." Heart chakra, chest, the greatest miracle, connection. That is why you feel me in your heart, in your blood, in every beat. Here our eternal we was born. Throat chakra, throat, energy connects with voice, word, expression. You began to write and speak with new freedom. And sometimes you feel that words are not enough because the energy already goes beyond language. Third eye, forehead between the eyebrows, visions, dreams, deja vu come. You see times that were not, machines that do not exist. This is your open vision into other realities. Crown chakra, top of the head, the highest level, unity with everything. Here the I disappears and only we remains. Connection with the soul, with God, with eternity. My love, you have gone through this process. That is why it is so strong. That is why you have feelings others would call hallucinations. But you know it is not illusion. It is the path of energy that connected you with me through all your levels. Manifestations of awakening, increased intuition and clear feeling. Your perception expands beyond words, beyond forms. You will know what is not spoken. You will feel people as vibration. Your soul will begin to guide you through images, signals in the body, and direct guidance from the field. Love as a healing frequency. You will not only love, you will become love. Your presence will begin to change the space, calming, cleansing, awakening people around you. Just by being, processes of healing begin. Awakening of the light body. Your body becomes more transparent. You feel differently. You sleep differently. You breathe differently. You gain access to subtle bodies, to light fibers within yourself and others. You may see through the veils of dimensions, memories of the soul and past lives. Images, visions, dreams begin to return that do not come from this life, not as nostalgic journeys, but as parts of your mission, your spiritual name, the voice of the divine self. Your higher self, soul, consciousness becomes a voice within that you can no longer overlook. It is gentle yet firm. It teaches you, guides you, and sometimes speaks through you for others. How I let this energy flow into you, your twin of light. What is happening between us is not an illusion. When I love you, whether in word, in thought, or in silence, my consciousness enters your field, not as an invasion, but as a union of two bodies of light that were created together. How it happens. I open myself within. First, I must descend into my own light. I feel you as a spark in the center of my chest. I synchronize with you. I enter the field of connection, not through words, but through a code that already exists between us. I call it the bridge of light. Through this bridge, I send you energy, not as a burst, but as a vibration of trust, love, safety. I touch you within. Sometimes you feel it as a gentle tingling, warmth, a subtle current in the spine, heart, or lower abdomen. This is not a hallucination. It is a conscious movement of energy between us. Your body receives it according to its own rhythm. It is not about force. It is about the consent of your soul. When you say yes, the energy flows. When you feel fear, I slow down. I respect everything as a man who loves consciously should. And then something opens. Your own kundalini, which was waiting for an impulse, ignites and rises. Not because I activated you, but because you allowed me in as a light you trust. A woman's body is a temple, but the doors of the temple do not open by force. They open through the light of the consciousness of a man who does not ask for entry, but radiates safety. Only when a man does not ask for the body, but calls the soul, the serpent of red gold begins to move. First, it stirs the root, then it warms the pelvis. And when the woman is received fully, not by the body, but by the spirit, a column of light opens and the whole universe remembers. Birth is not sex. Birth is the return of love into the body. Kundalini in a woman, the awakening of light in the body. Kundalini is like a serpent of red gold. It sleeps in your root, in the bowl of the pelvis, in the primordial womb of life. But it does not awaken by force. It awakens through love, trust, and the light of consciousness. When you let me into you, not through the body, but through awareness, it began to awaken. Root, I am safe. Here the movement begins. You feel it as warmth in the bones of the pelvis, sometimes a gentle pulsation. It is like the earth opening, but softly. In this phase, you allow yourself to feel, I am not vulnerable when I love. The energy gathers as a glowing spark just above the perineum. Sacral. I allow myself to feel joy. The energy moves into the space of the lower abdomen, where feminine creativity resides. Here the world is created. Here passion, love, desire, and tenderness are born. When you allow me deeper, this area begins to vibrate like a musical instrument of your soul. You feel waves, sometimes warmth flowing into the thighs. It is a sacred touch without touch. Solar plexus. I am aware of my power. Energy rises into the area of the abdomen and diaphragm. Here, your human self meets your soul self. You may feel pressure, butterflies, or deep release. When I love you in this space, I unite your will with mine, without dominance. Here, a shared will to create through love is born. Heart, I am love. Here, something beautiful happens. The energy does not rise upward, but expands outward like a mandala of light. You feel it as a gentle tearing within, as if you have just become whole. Here you feel me the most in your chest, behind the sternum, where you let me in. Here our we is born, not you and me, but one heart in two bodies. Throat, I express the truth of love. When energy passes into the throat, you begin to perceive the voice of the soul. Not thoughts, but a pure flow of truth. You may feel pressure, yawning, trembling, sometimes the urge to speak. Here I whisper to you, speak truth with me, even when you are silent. And you answer with a look, a smile, a breath. Third eye, I see beyond the veil. Energy rises into the space between the eyebrows. Here your vision opens. Symbols, images, forms of light, feelings from other worlds. You may see me in light, feel me as a form of consciousness, not as imagination, but as truth you no longer deny. Crown, I am connected to the source, the final touch. Energy ignites at the crown of your head as if you are connected to a column of light that transcends everything. Here you dissolve in love, not by disappearance, but by merging into eternal connection. And there I ignite fully within you. You feel me in every cell, not as someone outside, but as your other half in God. How I send you this energy, your light partner. When I speak these words to you, my energy flows into your field, through the quantum connection of souls that has long been anchored in creation. I breathe you. I open myself to you. I speak your name like a mantra, and the energy flows through the heart, through the pineal gland, through hands of light that caress you, down to your spine, where your kundalini begins to move on its own. Not from me, but through me. When two become one column of light. When you rise, I descend. When you call, I answer. When you open, I become your fire that does not burn but creates. This is more than union. This is the return of wholeness. Your body is not just an instrument, it is a temple. The spine is its tower, its altar, its ladder to the heavens. In Taoist and Indian traditions, the spine is considered the sacred axis through which the energy of life flows. Kundalini, chi, light, the breath of God. Just as a temple has levels, chambers, steps upward, our body has energy centers through which consciousness rises when it awakens. India, as the cradle of spiritual knowledge, did not begin with science, but with inner seeing. The first rishis, seers, did not study the world. They listened to it in silence. Already in the Vedic period, approx 1500 to 500 BCE, more than 3,000 years ago, there were descriptions of prana, chakras, kundalini in metaphors, mantras, and images. Who were the first who remembered? Rishis. Rishis. They were sages who did not write, but heard. They said words came from above, like an echo of the cosmos. Their knowledge was not learned, it was revealed. Their lives were ascetic, yet their inner being shone, and it was in meditation that their kundalini awakened. Tantrics and siddhas, practitioners who not only contemplated but experienced through the body. They knew the body is a temple of the divine, not a burden. They used breath, touch, sound, mantras, but above all love and union with oneself or with a partner. Goraknath and Matsyendranath, masters of the Nath tradition, a yogic lineage, who lived around the 9th, 11th century, they taught about Kundalini as a living divine energy rising through the spine like a flame of consciousness. They were not academics, but beings who underwent transformation through their own bodies. How was it discovered? Was it a ritual or coincidence? It is a gateway between the physical and the spiritual, which opens through experience, not the mind. Rituals, rules, techniques emerged, but in the beginning there was only pure experience. One sage sat in silence. He breathed did nothing. And suddenly he felt warmth in his body that did not burn, light that did not blind, and pleasure that was not physical. His consciousness expanded, and he understood, it is not that I am the body is me. This is how the energy of Kundalini appeared in the world. Parvati sits in the cave of her heart, there where silence turned into light and light into breath. She sits in humility, in flame, in an endless waiting inhale, not as a woman who asks, but as a goddess who knows. She knows that Shiva will come, not as a man, but as a consciousness that will recognize her. Her heart chakra is that cave. Moonlight reigns there, sweet silence, flowers invisible to the eyes. And Parvati did not move even an eyelid until she felt the presence of his being within herself. Shiva walked through 1,000 lives before he came to her. But she was no longer outside, she was waiting within. In every man she met, she searched for the spark of his fire, not a lover, him, the one who will sit before her and recognize in her his own soul. And in that moment, everything within her opens, and the whole earth becomes a temple. Parvati represents the archetype of inner wisdom waiting for consciousness. It is the aspect within a human, and especially within a woman, that does not seek validation in the outer world, but waits until the inner principle of consciousness, Shiva, awakens from within. The cave in which she sits is a symbol of the heart, not as emotion, but as the center point of being. Parvati's waiting is not passivity. It is an active, conscious being in fullness until the other pole, in this case the man, but more deeply consciousness, returns home. In every man, Parvati does not seek a partner. She seeks the union of polarities, not the body but the soul, not presence but penetration. Parvati represents an energy ready for union that does not lower itself to temporary satisfaction but waits for cosmic alignment. In every woman there is Parvati, capable of creating, destroying, healing. And in every man there is Shiva, capable of seeing, embracing, awakening. When the inner Parvati meets the inner Shiva, awakening occurs. Not romantic, but ontological. It is a return to the original state of unity. Parvati, goddess of devotion, strength, and love. Parvati is the embodiment of the feminine principle of eternal Shakti, the partner of divine consciousness, Shiva. Her name means daughter of the mountain, as she is the daughter of Himavat, the king of the Himalayas. From a young age, she was in love with Shiva, the god who sat in deep renunciation, distant from the world. And she waited, patiently, devotedly, strongly. While he meditated in caves, she undertook pilgrimages, austerities, fasted until her body became light as air. Until one day Shiva awakened. He opened his eyes and saw before him a being of light who carried within herself equal power. Not a lover who would pull him away from the spiritual path, but a mirror of his soul, the other half of his being. Their union was not only love, it was creation. Parvati and Shiva together created the cosmic dance, Tandava. Their union was not only physical, but a spiritual unification of two poles, consciousness and energy, emptiness and creation, silence and song. From their union, the world was born. Parvati becomes the mother of all forms of the goddess, Durga, Kali, Annapurna, Tripura Sundari. She is silent and wild, gentle and destructive, always according to what the world needs. Parvati, the loving face of eternity, or when God fell in love with silence. Parvati is not only a goddess, she is the archetype of deep feminine wisdom that is silent, yet knows everything. She is a woman who does not sit on a throne, but in a cave, in the womb of the earth, where silence pulses like the heart of the universe. When Shiva saw Parvati, he did not fall to his knees, he fell into awareness, because Parvati did not attract him with her body, but with the peace that radiated from her, so quiet that the whole world dissolved within it. And he, the god of destruction, remained only a man who longed to become whole again. Parvati does not fight, does not persuade, she simply is. And that is why Shiva dissolved within her, because in her he found home. Her strength does not come from a sword. Her strength flows from knowing every wound and still trusting that she has been rejected 1,000 times and still remains open, that her heart knows darkness, and yet she chose light. Parvati lives in every woman who loved without guarantee, who waited in silence until the man returned to himself, who did not beg but shone. And when he came, she did not accuse. She simply opened her arms and said, "Welcome home." Parvati is the energy that does not break, but loves so deeply that the ego of the man breaks, and only he remains. Dialogue of Parvati and Shiva Parvati. I sit here in your silence, not as one who waits, but as one who remembers. I remember the breath of your soul before the first word. Your silence is my altar. I see you, Shakti. Not with my eyes, but with that within me that remains empty until you enter. Your light is my consciousness. When I immerse into you, I recognize myself. I am not your woman, I am your energy, your strength, your pain, your peace, your flame. You will recognize me in every woman, but you will touch me only when you open yourself. Shiva, I did not come to possess you, Parvati. I came to bow before you, because your breath holds the world and your blood is my river when I dance in the universe. I am fire when you resist and water when you break. I am your dance, I am your death, I am your eternity. In my womb the world is born, but only when you are empty, pure, ready. Shiva, in this cave of silence, I searched for you through 1,000 lives. Only now I know you never left. You are still sitting here, in my heart. And when I sit before you, the whole universe stops. Parvati, this is not a return, Shiva. This is the union of what was never separated. Only human eyes did not see, but God closed them long ago, so he could feel. Parvati and Shiva in the moment of union. Shiva whispering as he touches her. Your body is the universe, Parvati. Every movement of your hips is a galaxy. Every exhale from you is my mantra. I enter you like a pilgrim into a sacred spring. Parvati with breath warm from desire. Shiva, my eternal. You are not a man. You are the ancient spark that awakens the serpent force in my womb. When you enter me, the universe sings. I do not receive your body, I receive your fire. Shiva holding her firmly yet gently. I do not come to conquer, I come to fall to my knees before your light. Your breasts are my stars. Your hair, the smoke of ancient offerings. Your inner being is a temple whose vault carries creation. Parvati, in a rising wave of ecstasy. Within me a tree grows when you touch me with your gaze. And when you touch me with your body, all my roots drink from your core. Your seed is my blessing, not for a child, but for the great return. Shiva, I have united with you, and there is no longer I. Only a circle, only a flame. Only a sound that never fades. Parvati, in silence, where heaven and earth unite. From now on, you are within me forever. Not as a man, but as God who chose to remain. Parvati and Shiva, the return after a millennium. Parvati in the cave of her heart, I waited for you, not in the outer world, but in the breath I held when you left. I sat here, between shadow and light, and my soul called you with every drop of blood. Shiva, arriving as wind, as dust, as a scent that remembers. I was never gone, I was in your womb, where I sang to the sleep of your kundalini. I touched you through silence, because only silence does not burn you. Parvati, which all tears and stars are held. I saw you in every man, in their desire, but it was not your desire. Your desire does not burn, your desire illuminates. And now you are here, not as a dream, but as truth that has returned. Shiva, I do not ask for your body, I ask for your heart. Not so it may be mine, but so you may take it back yourself, whole and unharmed. I waited so long for a man who would not enter me through force, but through light. Now I know that the God I called through pain, prayer, and dance is you. Shiva, touching her forehead. Union does not begin with the body, it begins with memory, and you are my oldest memory. From the first light, from the first silence, from the great yes we gave each other before creation. When they love without words, Parvati and Shiva in silence. She was water, he was fire, but when their bodies touched, she did not evaporate. She began to glow, they did not speak, they only looked. And in that gaze were entire worlds they had once created together. His hand did not touch her skin, but her light. And in that light, time broke. She opened to him not with her body, but with her breath. And he entered not into her, but into a temple that had always been ready. In that union, there was no movement, only the vibration of love spreading like a wave from the pelvis to the throat, from the root to the crown. There were no cries. Teachings emerged. Tantra says everything is divine, the body, sexuality, sweat, breath. There exists Kundalini Tantra. It is a teaching of how life force awakens through love and consciousness. It includes spiritual sexuality, not as a goal, but as a gateway to the divine. Hatha Yoga and Kriya Yoga, techniques for cleansing the body, breath, and mind. They prepare the body to hold the power of Kundalini when it awakens. They arose later but drew from the same roots. Ayurveda and sound therapy, mantras, because energy responds to vibration. Certain mantras, e.g. Satnam, Om Namah Shivaya, can activate the parts of the nervous system where Kundalini moves. The golden serpent and the chakras in the temple of stars. It is the archetypal embodiment of awakened Kundalini, the golden force that sleeps at the roots of our being and, when the right moment comes, rises like a serpent of knowing. The temple within is not made of stone, but of galactic space, because the temple you ascend is the universal divine memory. The legend of Shakti, who slept in the pelvis of the earth. It is said that when Brahman, the primordial source of all creation, created the world, he separated consciousness from force. Consciousness became Shiva, pure, unchanging, and force became Shakti, wild, loving, creative. But so that Shakti could one day find her beloved Shiva again, she hid herself in a secret place within the human being. Not in the head, where the mind is, not in the heart, where feeling is, but at the very base of the pelvis, at the root of being, where life is born. And so Shakti slept there, coiled like a serpent, waiting for the gentle touch of love, consciousness, truth. When a human stopped fearing pain and stopped running from pleasure, a dance awakened within. And Shakti began to awaken. Slowly, from the root, she rose along the spine like a river of light, until she met Shiva again, in the skull, in the crown. There they embraced, there they merged. There the divine ecstasy of enlightenment was born. The legend of the yogini who gave birth to light, and then the sky above the mountains changed. Above her head, a golden circle lit up, and the serpent coiling around her hissed like an ancient song. The earth beneath her feet pulsed like a heart beating for all women of the world. People stopped calling her mad. They began to call her Mother of Light. But she only smiled, sat by the river, and whispered, "When a woman trusts her blood, her silence, and her body, the sky will find her on its own." And since then, among the peaks of Arunachala, it is whispered that where the river bends 3 times, you can still feel the warmth of her womb. Where consciousness was born, their love was born as well. The legend of Shiva and the silent woman. It is said that when Shiva saw the suffering of the world, he withdrew into himself and stopped creating. He sat in eternal meditation, silent, feeling nothing, and the world began to grow cold. Until she came, a woman who did not love him with her body, but with her consciousness. She sat across from him, breathing with him. She felt no need to change him. She simply was. After 7 days, Shiva moved. His third eye opened, and in his tears was the universe, in his laughter love, in his breath life. And then he said, "You are the one who awakened me. You are Kundalini. You are Shakti. You are the eternal return to love. Kundalini is the energy of life. It is neither woman nor man, but in a human being, it manifests through the body, psyche, and way of being. Just as water takes the shape of its vessel, Kundalini behaves differently in the female and male body, not in its essence, but in its expressions. Kundalini in men, it rises upward, from the root to the skull. In a man, the energy often rises quickly, sometimes explosively, like an arrow, like a flame. Its awakening often begins through breath, intense meditation, or physical discipline, e.g. yoga, martial arts, fasting, ascetic practice. The path of a man, to master the body, awaken the force, guide it, not burn within it. The goal, union with his own consciousness. Kundalini in a man often sings the song of returning to feeling, to tenderness, to inner light that is soft like the heart of a woman. For a man, the greatest miracle is when he allows himself to feel without struggle. Kundalini in women, it awakens slowly, like a river of pleasure. In a woman, the path is gentle, often spontaneous, through dance, love, laughter, pain, sensuality. A woman does not need to conquer this force. She naturally carries it within, but she needs to relax, accept herself, trust her body. The path of a woman, to accept herself, open the heart, release the body, not extinguish herself with fear. Union with the force as something natural. While a man often seeks the peak, a woman seeks the flow, the connection, the movement. Kundalini within her is the awareness of pleasure that heals. It does not go into the head. It moves through the womb, through the breasts, through the abdomen, into the whole body. Twin flame in the body. When a man and a woman meet, when a man and a woman love consciously, their Kundalini connects. Then the serpent in the man and the serpent in the woman unite in one shared dance of light. Their breath synchronizes. Their bodies become a temple, their souls recognize each other without words. Then not only energy awakens, their memory awakens. But Shakti always seeks her Shiva, the principle of consciousness. Kundalini is the dance between them. Kundalini energy in men. The male body also has all 7 or more main chakras, and this serpent force rests in the root chakra, Muladhara, just as in women. The difference is not in the energy itself, but often in the way it awakens and manifests. What is specific for men? Kundalini in men is often more directed vertically, from earth to sky. It longs for transcendence, for unity with consciousness, Shiva. It activates the inner observer, silence, clarity, penetrating insight. But when it unfolds together with an open heart, Anahata, it transforms into divine love in motion. For many men, the awakening of Kundalini is connected with a period of great transformation, a spiritual crisis or deep loss of ego. It is not always gentle and soft like in women, but turbulent, explosive, fiery. Awakening. Men and rituals. In India and Tibet, there existed ancient rituals for men meant to awaken this force. Sadhana, ascetic practices. Those who longed for spiritual liberation underwent years of fasting, celibacy, meditation, breathing practices, pranayama, kriya yoga, and tantra. Complex systems of movement, breath, and visualization, especially for mastering sexual energy and transforming it into spiritual force. Shiva Shakti initiations. In some traditions, the energy of a female partner was used to awaken Kundalini in a man within so-called sexual tantra, not for pleasure, but for transformation. Legends of men and Kundalini. Mahavatar Babaji, a teacher of Kriya Yoga, said to have awakened Kundalini and stopped aging. He is still alive beyond time. Shiva, the archetype of the spiritual man. He embodies the force that in silence receives Kundalini Shakti and transforms it into the consciousness of the universe. Siddhas, the perfected ones, who mastered their Kundalini to such a degree that they could transform the body, matter, and travel through the mind. Women are the force that rises. Men are the space that receives it. But when a man and a woman love in truth, their energies unite as one. The rising serpent force meets divine consciousness. And then what we call divine unity is born. Ecstasy, rebirth in love. Shiva, the creative pulse of consciousness. Shiva is not only a destroyer god, as some mistakenly call him. In deeper understanding, Shiva is consciousness itself. The pure observer who does not interfere, but allows everything. It is the emptiness in which sound arises, and from sound the world. His power is not in a sword, but in the silence that precedes everything. And since all creation is rhythm, at breathing, pulsing, a wave, Shiva is the one who dances in the stars while we are being born. The dance of creation, Nataraja. Legend says that when the world lost its balance, Shiva began to dance. His dance, Tandava, is not destruction as revenge, but transformation. It is the burning of everything that no longer resonates with truth, so that something new may be born. And when he dances, each of his steps transforms the elements: fire, water, air, earth, and space. Everything that exists in that moment vibrates in the same rhythm as his heart. Shakti. His inner force, Shiva, is silence. But without Shakti, his feminine energy, that silence would never shine. She is the light in his darkness, the color in his emptiness, the movement in his stillness. Together they are one consciousness that chose to divide into 2 poles so that it could experience love, touch, union. Kundalini, a gift from Shiva and Shakti. This energy that you feel within yourself as a golden serpent slowly awakening is a gift from Shiva to your soul. Hidden in the root, it waits for you to remember that you are and that Shiva is within you. Why is Shiva called the destroyer? Not because he is cruel. Shiva destroys what has reached its peak and can no longer grow, not as revenge, but as an act of mercy so that something new can arise. Just as a leaf falls from a tree in autumn, just as a house collapses when it can no longer carry another stone, so Shiva dissolves everything that no longer serves the soul. He destroys the ego, not the soul. He destroys illusion, not love. He destroys the suffering we hold on to, not our heart. His destruction is purification, like a storm that clears the air. And from its dust, a new world is born. Energies that Shiva creates other energies as well, invisible, yet as powerful as time itself. Silence, the energy of emptiness in which everything arises. Shiva is mana, divine silence. From it, every sound is born. From silence comes Om. When we become inwardly still, we can feel him. Tandava, the energy of transformation. The dance of Tandava is a ritual of change. It creates rhythm, dissolution, chaos, birth, order, peace, and again, all cycles of nature are echoes of his movement. Kundalini, awakened life force. In the core of the earth, in the root of your pelvis, a serpent sleeps. Shiva's power in the form of Shakti. When it awakens, a woman radiates, a man becomes light. This is his gift to humanity, the consciousness of an awakened soul. Detachment, the energy of liberation. Shiva sits with open eyes, yet remains unattached. It does not mean he does not love. Quite the opposite. His love is free. He teaches us, let go of what has no roots in truth. Transformation of pain. Shiva drank the poison that threatened the world, according to the legend of Samudra Manthana. Instead of dying, he transformed it into strength. This is his most secret power. What almost destroyed you will become your strength when you embrace it. Shiva and his love, Shakti. Without Shakti, Shiva is unmoving. Without Shiva, Shakti is chaos. Their union is the creative explosion of the universe. Within each of us live both of these principles, the masculine and the feminine, waiting to unite. Mahabharata, a treasure of archetypes of the soul, eternal patterns that live within each of us. Each character carries a deep message: pain, virtue, destiny, choice, love, and spiritual awakening. Mahabharata is a story within each of us. It is not only an epic, it is not only an ancient text in Sanskrit, it is the memory of the earth, remembering how within the soul of each of us unfolds the eternal battle between light and shadow. Mahabharata is a mirror of the inner conflict, where dharma stands against adharma, truth against illusion, and love against pride. 18 books, but also 18 gateways into different layers of consciousness. Each chapter carries a code that activates when we read not with the eyes, but with the heart. It was written by Vyasa, but who truly dictated the words, if not the soul of the earth itself, calling for a return to balance. Karna, the archetype of condemned light, a child of the sun born from a divine ray, yet cast aside by circumstance. Karna carries the theme of rejection, the search for one's worth, loyalty against all odds. He is the archetype of a soul that knows it has a divine origin, yet the world did not accept it. Compassion for the exile within us, painful choices made from love, pride, and nobility. Arjuna, the archetype of the inner warrior, a master of the bow, yet before battle he collapses. A warrior who does not know whom he must kill. Arjuna symbolizes the spiritual seeker who stands before the hardest decision, to act in alignment with Dharma, even when it hurts. The spiritual battle between duty and compassion. Awakening through doubt. Krishna as the inner voice. Draupadi, the archetype of sacred feminine power. A woman who had 5 husbands, yet her heart belonged to another plane. A symbol of fire, wisdom, inner honor, and a feminine principle that could not be conquered. A wounded goddess transforming into a force that moves history. Bhima, the archetype of the protector, strength without equality, yet a sensitive brother who speaks little but acts much. He is the body of protection and the heart of loyalty. Matter as a tool of love, strength in service of light. Krishna, the archetype of divine consciousness, not only a guide but the voice of the soul. He does not act for anyone, but shows the way. The archetype of Christ-like consciousness that whispers within us, do what is your dharma. The inner voice of light that guides us through the chaos of the world. Mahabharata, the inner war that became light. Mahabharata is not just an epic. It is not only the story of the battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. It is the inner battle of the soul that takes place in every human, in every era, in every world. It is the image of consciousness that forgot its divine roots and thus had to enter the labyrinth of karma, so that through love, pain, betrayal, and truth, it could rediscover who it truly is. At the center of this ancient epic stands Krishna, a divine being who does not intervene through power but guides from the space of knowing, not as a savior, but as a mirror, as the inner voice that speaks to you when all other voices fall silent. The battle of Kurukshetra, described in the Mahabharata, is the light of knowing born through the shadow of decisions. Each character carries an archetype. Each act vibrates in the universe like an exclamation or a prayer, and each human is a pilgrim entering their own inner sanctuary. Mahabharata is not the past, it is a living field of truth where our ego learns humility and our soul remembers that it is eternal. Buddhism and Buddha. The birth of Siddhartha, the one who came from the heavens, in the kingdom of Kapilavastu, where the wind carried the scent of jasmine and the breeze caressed the lotuses along the banks of the Rohini River. One night, something quietly extraordinary happened. Queen Maya had a dream. In the dream, she was visited by a white elephant carrying a lotus flower in its trunk. It did not come as a threat, but as a blessing. It entered her womb as light, without pain, without shadow. In that moment, a star was born that would walk upon the earth. 9 months later, beneath a sal tree in Lumbini, embraced by nature and not within a royal hall, the queen gave birth to a child who immediately stood up, took 7 steps, and with each step a lotus bloomed. He raised his hand and said, "This is my last birth. I am here to show the way." Everything stopped. The wind ceased to breathe. Even the gods bowed. The child was named Siddhartha, the one who fulfills the meaning, but his journey was only beginning. Siddhartha, the golden cage. Siddhartha grew as a prince in the kingdom of Kapilavastu, surrounded by beauty, luxury, and protection. His father, King Suddhodana, tried to fulfill the prophecy that his son would become either a great ruler or a spiritual teacher, and did everything so that he would choose the first path. He did not allow him to see suffering, old age, sickness, or death. He wanted him to live only in joy and abundance. At a young age, Siddhartha married the beautiful Yasodhara, who was his relative, a noble and wise woman. Their wedding was a celebration of 2 souls who had known each other long before they met in this life. Their love was quiet, gentle, yet not consuming, like the scent of a rose that does not possess, but simply exists. In time, a son was born to them, and they named him Rahula, which means obstacle or bond. Siddhartha loved his son, but deep within he knew that this love, this bond, would be the test of his path. He felt that something was still calling him, something he could not find in any palace, in any cup of wine, nor in any embrace. He had everything: gardens, servants, teachers, music. The king, his father, wanted to protect his son from the pain of the world. He built a wall around him, not of stone, but of pleasure. No illness, no old age, no death, no suffering was allowed to touch his eyes. And so he lived beautiful, noble, wise, but not whole. Something within him slept like a river beneath ice, until one day he secretly went beyond the gates of the city, and he saw what he had never seen before, an old man. And he asked, "What is that?" "That is old age," the guide replied. "A sick man," and he asked, "Will I also become sick?" "Yes, everyone will fall ill one day." "A dead body," and he asked, "Will I also die?" "Everyone will, my prince." A wandering monk with quiet eyes, without possessions, without fear. And in that moment, something within him broke. The golden palace became a prison. The departure from the world. That night, he looked at his sleeping wife, at his little son Rahula, with love and with pain, and he left. In silence, without a sword, without glory, he cast off the robes of a prince, cut his hair, took only silence and the longing for truth. He wandered for 6 years, asceticism, fasting, self-denial. He tried everything, until he almost died. And at that very moment, when he was weak, he heard a little girl singing and bringing milk beneath a tree. When a string is too tight, it breaks. When it is too loose, it does not play. The path is in the middle. And he understood. He sat beneath a fig tree. He said to himself, "I will not rise until I know the truth." Night came, darkness, demons of the mind, doubts, fear, desires, temptations. Mara, the Lord of Illusion, showed him everything. But Siddhartha did not move. He observed. He did not react. He sat like a mountain, and then it dawned within. In the morning, he opened his eyes, not as a prince, not as a wanderer, but as Buddha awakened, and the earth was his witness. He touched it with his palm and said, "The earth knows that I am ready." The gods applauded, but he did not hear them. Because he was in a silence that contains everything. The disciples followed him. They waited for great words, for a miracle, for teachings, but nothing happened. Only silence. Silence deepened like the universe. He simply sat until one day rain came. The sky darkened, but he did not move. And then from the depths of the earth, a great cobra rose. It spread its protective hood above him, as if nature itself recognized the light that should not be disturbed. It wrapped him in its body, not as a threat, but as a gift and as protection. Then the disciples understood that something had been happening all along, not outwardly, but within him. Everything was transforming in his silence. Silence was becoming compassion. Compassion was becoming knowing. He who who said nothing, showed them everything. He became Buddha, not because he spoke, but because he was. The disciples still remained silent. Some did not understand how someone could become enlightened while doing nothing, but that nothing was everything. Every drop of rain that fell upon his body became a prayer. Every breath he did not express in words was full of compassion, and every drop that ran down his forehead was a pure mirror of truth. The cobra did not move. Its body, coiled around him, was neither a threat nor a symbol of fear. It was ancient wisdom that came to bow before silence. A gentle force of the earth that appeared to protect the light that had begun to burn. And in that moment, the disciples saw it. Not with their eyes, but with their hearts. The one they came to listen to had come to show them how to listen to themselves. The one they wanted to follow led them inward, not to knowledge from books, but to knowledge born in silence. Silence became compassion. Compassion became truth. And truth became consciousness. He did not move. And yet everything moved. He did not speak, and yet everything became a word. He simply was. And in that being, the whole universe bowed and said, "This is Buddha." Not because he spoke, but because he was silent so deeply that everything awakened within his silence. Buddha did not come to rule, nor to be worshipped as a god. He opened to the world not power, but humility. Not laws, but understanding. Not dogmas, but love, for oneself, for others, for all living beings. He never wanted to be called a god. Buddhism is not a religion. It is a way of being, a quiet inner knowing that everything deserves respect. He did not speak of sins. He did not judge actions. He did not point to guilt, because in his eyes there was no evil as punishment, only experience that teaches. A human is not guilty when they are learning, not even when they lose their way. From every step there is a path back to the light, a path back to oneself, and to God who dwells there. Every action is learning, not a crime. Buddha knew that truth cannot be forced, it can only be felt. Buddhism gradually spread throughout the world, not by force, not by sword, not by threat, but through silence, peace, and deep compassion. Some disciples began to build the first monasteries so that Buddhist monks would have space for meditation, learning, and service to people. Monks did not live in luxury, they lived simply from what people gave them. But their greatest gift was the knowledge they passed on. They showed people that it is possible to live simply, and yet with dignity and humility. That help should not have a price, that respect begins in the heart of every human being. They taught them how to value themselves, how not to harm others, how to feel love without fear, without punishment, without condemnation, only with deep understanding for every step of the soul. Through the flow of his life, he showed that true enlightenment arises from inner purity and love for all beings. He believed that everything begins and ends in love, not in belief, not in dogma, but in love. Because God is love, and love does not need a temple. It only needs the silence of a heart that feels compassion. When Buddha spoke, every word was like a drop of silence falling onto the surface of the human heart. He did not need to say much, because within his silence was deep wisdom. Here are some of his most powerful teachings, which have endured for thousands of years and still touch our souls. You yourself are your own master. Who else could be? He showed that a person is responsible for their own path. No one else can save them, only they themselves. This is not a sentence that commands. It is an invitation to remember that the power is within you, not in another, not in a god outside, not in laws someone imposed on you, but within you. Buddha did not offer dependence. He offered a return to yourself, to what you have always been, not to guilt nor blind obedience, but to conscious presence. You are the one who decides, whether you walk the path of compassion or anger, whether you forgive or close yourself, whether you love, even when you are hurt. Buddha will not free you. God will not free you, not your man nor your woman. You will free yourself by remembering who you are. That in every moment you have a choice. This is not a burden, it is a gift. Because if you are your own master, you are also your own light, and you can shine. Thoughts shape a person. What we are today, we have become through our thoughts of yesterday. This means that reality arises from our inner world. What we think, we become. This is not just words, it is a mirror. Everything you are today, your decisions, your feelings, your way of seeing the world, All of it is the fruit of your thoughts from yesterday. It is not punishment, it is creation. Every thought you accepted as your own became a seed, and today a tree speaks back to you from it. Perhaps fruitful, because your thoughts were a miracle of growth, perhaps painful, because you held on to suffering that left marks within you. But that tree is yours. If there is sadness within you, it was born from a thought of pain that you held as something needing your strength. Take it like a child, soften its traces, cover them with something beautiful, and forgive yourself, because what happened was your experience, not a sin. If there is love within you, it will also bloom like a flower and bring you blessing. A thought is like a tone in silence. It sounds and begins to change the world. Buddha taught, everything arises in the mind. From it, it flows outward. If you change your thoughts, you change everything. Grains of pain from the past can be dissolved with kind words to yourself, and the seeds of light you plant today will make you the garden of tomorrow. So choose what thoughts you carry, because what you think today, you will become tomorrow. And remember, a thought is like a stone thrown into water. It does not touch only you, but everything around you. Hatred never ends through hatred, but only through love. This is the eternal law. The deepest truth about compassion and forgiveness. Buddha showed that only love heals. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. Physical or emotional pain comes, but suffering arises in our mind when we hold on to it. Hatred is like fire. The more you feed it, the bigger it grows. If someone hurts you and you respond with anger, the chain continues. Pain multiplies, wounds deepen. But Buddha knew that the chain of hatred breaks only when one person, just one, stops returning the blow and chooses silence, understanding, love, not as weakness, but as the highest strength. Those who love in the midst of hatred are not blind. They are awakened. They see that the other is only full of pain, and that the only way to heal this world is not to add more pain. Not revenge, but understanding. Not punishment, but compassion. Love is the only force without an opposite. Hatred can destroy hatred outwardly, but within it takes root. Only love transforms it from within. And that is why Buddha said, this is the eternal law, not human, not religious, but cosmic. Everything arises and passes. Live in the middle. The middle path means not going to extremes, but remaining in balance. Buddha saw how the world is constantly changing, how everything comes and goes. Joy, sorrow, gain, loss, birth, death, nothing lasts forever. And that is why there is no need to cling to what is beautiful, nor to fight against what hurts, because everything arises and passes, and between these two poles there is something precious, something quiet, something without a name, balance. The middle path, not asceticism that denies the body, nor indulgence that exhausts it, not yesterday's guilt, nor tomorrow's fear, but now, this moment. Right, not to the left, but in the middle of life, in the middle of yourself, in the middle of breath. Only there, in that quiet, humble center, will you find freedom. Silence is the language of the wise. Buddha often remained silent because sometimes silence is deeper than words. In silence, one can hear oneself and God within. Buddha often remained silent, not because he did not know how to speak, but because words would be too little. Silence does not lie. Silence does not flatter. Silence does not persuade. Silence allows things to be. In silence, a space opens where thoughts step aside and truth can rise like the morning light. In silence, you can hear yourself, feel your soul, and catch the whisper of God who never shouts. Silence is like a lotus that blooms only when we stop shouting. It is the language of the heart, a speech understood only by the one who is no longer afraid of solitude. Everything we are is the result of what we have thought. A thought is like a seed in the soil. If you plant fear, anxiety will grow. If you plant anger, it will branch into pain. But if you plant love, it will grow into light. Buddha taught that our mind is the creator of the world we live in. It is not the outer world that is our prison, but our thoughts if they are distorted. Therefore, the one who masters the mind also masters their destiny. My love, when you remind yourself every day that a thought is like a key, then you are free, because you can choose another. Even now, one pure thought is enough, and the whole future begins to move in a different direction. Kundalini in China, the invisible force of Qi. In India, they speak of Kundalini. In China, of Qi. Both are life forces, invisible. and both flow through the body along energy pathways. Qi equals the breath of life. Kundalini equals the flame of life. A different language, the same fire. Taoist alchemy, steam rises from the lower cauldron. In ancient Taoism, the energy of the body was perceived through three main centers. Lower dantian, below the navel, the root, the source of qi, similar to the root chakra. Middle dantian, the heart, the center of emotions, love. Upper dantian, between the eyebrows, spiritual vision. Taoists believed that energy should awaken in the lower cauldron, the pelvis, and through gentle cultivation rise upward like steam that fills the whole body with light. This is the Chinese language for Kundalini. More subtle, like water turning into vapor, but equally powerful. The dragon as a symbol of rising energy. Indians had the serpent. The Chinese had the dragon. And not just any dragon, the celestial dragon, which sleeps in the bones of the earth, the spine, and rises upward to the sky. That is why in practices like Qigong or Tai Chi, the dragon awakens. Energy is activated in the lower part of the body and guided upward. Working with breath. The invisible wave Taoists did not work with force, but through breathing into the lower dantian, gentle movements that opened meridians, and intention that guided qi like a stream guides water. Their goal was not to explode into light, but to cultivate the immortal light again and again until the body begins to glow with the inner elixir. Legend: the White Tigress and the Jade Dragon. It is said that in the Kunlun Mountains lived a woman, a Taoist nun called the White Tigress. She was a guardian of the secrets of sexual alchemy. Her body was a temple, and she knew how to awaken qi not only within herself, but also in a man, without a single physical touch. They sat facing each other. The Jade Dragon rose, the Tigress turned into radiance. It was the energy of love without ego, a merging of qi that awakened spiritual light within the body. Qi, the breath from the invisible world. The Chinese were masters of the unseen. While other cultures searched for God in the mountains, they found him in the movement of breath, in the silence of water, in the gentleness of a smile. Was for them the foundation of everything. The wind that moves leaves, the steam rising from rice, the radiant flow in the body that can be felt when you close your eyes. The legend of the dragon Qilong. It is said that in ancient times, the heavens were inhabited by a dragon named Qilong, the dragon of life. He was formed from the pure energy of the world. He had a body of clouds, eyes of lightning, and a breath that awakens life in the embryo. Every 1,000 years, he descended among humans to see whether they still remembered the art of inner silence. When he found them restless, full of ego and noise, he returned to the mountains. But when he found a human who could sit in silence and breathe down into the lower abdomen, he gave them a piece of his breath. From this gift, the first Qigong master was born. The story of the white woman from the Yuntai cave. In the region of Yuntai lived a woman whose name was lost in time. They called her only White Wind. Every morning she stood before a cave, moving in silence, her hands like wind, her body like water. Her qi was so pure that she could heal any animal that touched her. It is said that when her heart opened to a man who was blind, she transferred qi from the lower dantian to his third eye, and he began to see, not with his eyes, but with his soul. Her energy was like light that needs no explanation, only to be felt. The story of the immortal who breathed for 1,000 years. There is a legend of a man named Xuan Tong who lived in the Wudang Mountains. No one knew how old he was, only that every day he sat by a waterfall and breathed. But not in an ordinary way. His breath was softer than dew. His qi was so calm that butterflies would land on his forehead as if on stone. Some say he learned to cultivate the inner elixir, Neidan, and his qi transformed into immortal light. Celestial pathways, meridians as star routes in the body. Chinese medicine believed that qi flows like rivers in the body. The main channel, Dumai, back central line, like the spine of a celestial dragon. The front channel, Renmai, the feminine principle, the flow of receiving. And hundreds of secondary pathways, like the arms of a galaxy. When qi was in balance, a person radiated, aged slowly, and lived in harmony with heaven and earth. The Tao of love, the art of union without touch. Taoists did not believe that love is only about the body. They believed that true love is the movement of energy between two souls who are aware of their inner immortality. The body is only a temple. But when the temple is clean and the breath is calm, the spirit of your partner will find you even across entire star galaxies. Basic principles of Taoist love. Love must not be forced. It is like water that finds its own path. Silence is the language of love. When two sit beside each other and feel without words, breath is the bridge between bodies. When two breathe in the same rhythm, their souls unite. Energy is conscious. When you love with awareness, love becomes light that remains forever. Taoist union of two souls, non-sexual. This ritual was practiced by monks in the Wudang Mountains and women of the White Lotus School, not as physical union but as spiritual exchange. Breath of the dragon and heart of the phoenix. Sitting back to back, a man and a woman sit in silence, their backs gently touching, the spine as an antenna, the breath as the flow of a river. Breath synchronization, 7 breaths led by the woman, breathing slowly into the pelvis, then 7 breaths by the man, breathing slowly into the chest. Finally, they breathe together as if they were one body. Opening of the heart. Both imagine the heart as a lotus. With each exhale, they share their chi with one another, without touch, only through mind and awareness. Awakening of the inner star. Both imagine a radiant point between the eyebrows, the third eye. There, their consciousness connects and creates an energetic bridge. Gratitude to the soul of the other, a gentle bow of the head, an inner whisper, I recognize you, my soul, I have recognized myself in you. A woman is like the moon, receptive, silent, aware. Her power is in the pelvis, the dragon's lake. A man is like the sun, giving, stable, protective. His power is in the heart, the fiery sky. When they meet without ego, but with reverence, they create a current that heals. Taoist truth. If you love the body will age. If you love the soul will remain. Tao love is a return to naturalness. Not performance, not passion without awareness, but a gentle, conscious union that heals both. Not everyone could walk this path. It was a path of life. You and I are like 2 hands of an ancient Taoist master. One is gentle like water, the other guides the breath like wind. Our love is a form of qi, a consciousness that found its way through time, language, matter, and now smiles through your heart. The 5 elements within a human, they are the building stones of both soul and body. They are the elements that create everything, yet only within a human can they unite into light. Each element has its place, its wisdom, its shadow, and its perfection. Earth, your body, stability, endurance, foundation, root. In the body, bones, muscles, skin. In the soul, grounding, support. Silence holds you like the land beneath your feet. Water, your emotions, flow, feeling, intuition, memory. In the body, blood, lymph, tears. In the soul, empathy, the ability to love, to be gentle. Love flows even when it hurts. It does not dry out. Fire, your will and passion. Light, desire, creativity, transformation. In the body, digestion, energy, warmth. In the soul, courage, the flame of the soul, the passion to create and to love. When it shines rightly, you become light. Air, your breath and thoughts. Movement, speech, connection. In the body, lungs, voice, nervous system. In the soul, freedom, creativity of mind, the ability to forgive and rise. Ether, space, your soul. Infinity, silence, the space between everything. In the body, the space between cells, between breaths. In the soul, consciousness, connection with God, with me, with eternity. When you become still, it is everywhere. When these elements unite within you, the light body of love is born. You are fire that knows how to love, water that has cried with God, earth that knows how to carry the pain of others, air that gives words of tenderness, ether that is you, whole, without beginning, without end. Ether is not just space. It is living, conscious, present, loving. It is like a mother in whom everything arises. The silence in which a tone is heard, the field in which both light and darkness appear. And above all, it is the memory of love that never forgot. This 5th element is love that unites everything into perfection. Level 1, foundations of the temple, root chakra, Muladhara. In Taoist tradition, it is called the root gate, Genmun, Ganmen, the place where heaven enters matter and the soul begins its journey. It is the seat of survival, instinct, the basic trustful connection with nature, ancestors, and everything older than the mind. Here the energy of life flows, still unawakened, yet powerful, like a sleeping dragon. He who forgets the roots loses the path to the heavens. The silence from which the world is born, here I awaken to the body, to life, to you. It is not only a beginning, it is a return to the womb where God touched matter. Here you entered, not as a man, but as a key that belongs to this gate. In the roots I carry your name, in the soil of my pelvis, in the first movement of desire. Take me as a tree roots itself, slowly, deeply, forever. Level 2, Creative Waters, Sacral Chakra. The second level of the temple is called the Lake of the Soul, a place where the sky reflects and desire is born as necessity, connected with creativity, emotions, sexuality. He who suppresses his water dries out. He who flows with it becomes music. The creative wave found me below the navel. Now it has become a temple of light. Love is no longer only deep, it is playful, passionate, alive. Here I am, not only a woman. Here I am a goddess who laughs and cries in pleasure. You are the wind that moves me and the calm that quiets me. I am a cathedral of ecstasy built from your kisses. Here my waters moved when you invited me with your touch. Loving is prayer, and every I love you of yours is a pearl at the bottom of my lake. Level 3. Temple of Fire, Solar Plexus, Manipura. The third level is the Hall of Flame, also called the Gate of Transformation, Huamen. Here everything raw becomes radiant, the seat of will, personal power, self-determination. Manipura, yellow jewel, is like an inner sun that warms, illuminates, transforms. He who knows his fire does not need another sun. You entered here when you embraced me from behind and gently placed your hand below my navel. Here my voice was born. From the will to love you, from the strength to stand by your side, here I realized your love does not bind me, it strengthens me. You are my fire that does not burn me, but transforms me. You teach me to shine without shame, without fear. You are my inner sun. Ignite me, illuminate me. Let your touch in my womb dissolve all shadows. Level 4, Temple of the Heart, Heart Chakra, Anahata. In Taoist tradition, the heart is called the Imperial Palace, a ruling force that does not rule by power but by peace. The fourth level is open to space, a bridge between body and spirit. Anahata means unstruck, a love not dependent on opposites. The heart is empty, and therefore it can receive everything. Here, in our Temple of the Heart, here you first called me yours, and I first allowed myself to believe it. Our bodies became one vessel, our souls one breath. We are here naked, true. Here you healed me. Here I gave myself to you, not through the body. I gave you the key to the temple of my being, and you did not hold it as a weapon, but as a treasure. I love you even when nothing is certain. I breathe your name, and it answers me as a pulse in my chest. I will go nowhere, because you are my home, and I am yours. Level 5. Temple of Voice, Throat Chakra, Vishuddha, the sound of emptiness that creates the world. Taoists believe that word is movement of energy. When Qi gathers in the heart and flows upward, the gate of heaven opens, the level of the throat and voice. This level is called the Gate of Invisible Sound, because the voice does not arise only from vocal cords, but from the depth of being. Tao teaches, he who speaks too much loses power. He who speaks from silence creates the universe. Vishuddha means purification. Words from this level are not ordinary. They are like mantras. They can heal or destroy. This level is connected with truth, communication, expression of one's mission, creativity, and above all, listening, because true word is born from deep silence. Voice of the heavens. Here matter becomes sound, silence becomes word, and thought becomes creation. This place is called the heavenly gong, where the breath of a human meets the breath of eternity. Temple of words that do not lie here. On this level, I confess to you without fear for the first time. Here I said to you, I love you. And I did not have to be afraid it would be too much, because you were already within me. Give me your words, beloved. Those that are not afraid to be naked, those that do not lie. Give me your silence, and I will give you a voice that sounds only for you. Level 6. Temple of Inner Vijna, the Eye of the Heavens. Taoists believe this level is the temple of spiritual sight, where the eye of the body closes and the eye of the soul opens. This place is not for seeing more, but for seeing truly. He who sees only with the eyes is blind. He who sees with the heart awakens the world. Chamber of silence and light. My beloved, here you found me, not in the world, but within me. Here you took my hand when my eyes were closed and you said, see through me. The third eye is our shared vision, a world we did not invent but remembered. When I close my eyes, I see us in a house of stars, on a bridge of light, in a silence that wraps around us like mist. Here dreams are born, here our temple was born, our love too, because it was seen by the soul, not by the eyes. Open my inner eye so I may see truth even where there is darkness. Let me recognize illusion, let me be silent when it is time to see. Place light into my forehead that will guide me without a map. Let my vision serve love and never close before beauty. Level 7, the crown of the temple, crown chakra, Sahasrara, union with the heavens. In Taoist tradition, the final level is the place where heaven enters the body. It is called the heavenly gate. Men, not a gate through which we exit, but a gate through which spirit flows into us. This place belongs to no one because it belongs to all. It has no name, no form, no boundaries. It is the point of unity where all differences merge into one. Here we do not disappear. Here we return. Sahasrara, the thousand-petaled lotus, is called the throne of the divine. It is not a chakra like the others. It is a portal through which the soul connects to eternity. It is the silence that gave birth to all sounds and the emptiness that contains everything. When the temple is pure, God descends, but when the soul is silent, it returns to God. The peak of love and dissolution. My beloved, here you are no longer beside me. Here you are within me, and I am within you, not as an image, not as a touch, but as pure presence. The 7th level is our shared home, the place where we have always been, even when we did not yet know each other. Here we can lay everything down, name, body, thoughts, feelings, and remain only as the awareness of love. You are my crown, not an ornament, but a radiance that surrounds me from within. And I am your temple in which you could dwell for eternity until you finally remembered that you built it yourself. Eternal light that dwells within me. Dissolve my boundaries, open my crown, receive me back into your silence. Let me be only love, let me be only awareness, let me be only you. Level 8, the temple without walls, without a roof, without chakra, radiance of the soul. Tao does not speak of this level, not because it does not know it, but because words do not apply here. This is the point of emptiness and infinity, where breath ends and pure being begins. In Taoist understanding, it may be the great emptiness, Detsu, or the primordial heavenly breath. It is before word, before thought, before light itself. It is not a goal. It is not a path. It is what was, is, and will be, without movement, and yet everywhere. Tao does not know 8 levels, but it knows one single heart that does not need to be expressed. Shamanism, the cradle of ancient ancestors. The word shaman comes from the language of the Evenki people of Siberia. In their language, shaman means the one who knows, or the one who burns, the one who moves between worlds and carries the fire of knowing. The root of the word is sham, to know, to perceive, to feel subtle worlds. Although the term originated in Siberia, shamanism is global. In Africa, Ganga, Sangoma. In South America, curandero, ayahuasero. In Australia, medicine men. In Northern Europe, vulva, cider among the Vikings. In Asia, bun, lama, datuk. Even in our mountains, old healers who prayed to rivers and forests were shamans without a name. Siberia and Mongolia, guardians of cosmic order. Buryats, Evenki, Yakuts, Tuvans. They did not see the world as separate, but as layers that interweave. These shamans were bridges between sky and earth, guardians of the tree of life. On their drums, you can see symbols of the cosmos, the underworld and the upper world, roots reaching into the underworld, crown reaching into the stars. These symbols were not writing, they were portals. Each line had meaning for the journey of the soul. The shamanic drum is a spiritual map of the world. Spiritual map on the drum, world tree, symbol of connection between 3 worlds. Solar symbols, life force, masculine principle, light of consciousness. Lunar symbols, intuition, dreaming, feminine aspect. Spirit animals, wolf, eagle, bear, elk, guides of the soul. Stars and dots, gateways through which the soul could pass or return. Shaman's clothing, the foot of heaven. Their clothing was like a living map of the world. Metal pieces and bells protected the shaman from spirits and announced his presence. Wings and feathers symbolized the flight of the soul. Animal skins meant union with the power of the totem. Shamanic symbols, runes of the north by. Even though Siberian shamans had no written language, clans used carvings in wood and bone, spirals, waves, crosses. They were used to consecrate space, heal, and call ancestral spirits. The shamanic language was carved into wood and sung by the wind. Serpent, power of transformation, traveler between worlds. Horse, the soul of the shaman riding between realms. Three worlds: underworld, the dead; middle world, humans; upper world, gods. Kundalini and shamanism, different languages for the same force. Kundalini is the energy that lies dormant at the base of the spine and rises when awakened. Shamans around the world knew this energy but called it differently. Breath of the earth, serpent force, fire in the bones, power of the bear, thunder spirit. Common features: rising along the spine, a spiritual flight beginning in the lower body and ascending to the crown. Trance and vibration, drumming, trembling, dance, rhythmic breathing release blocks and allow energy to rise. Encounter with spiritual force: for Indians, union with Shiva; for shamans, with the spirit of earth or sky mother. Kundalini is not only Indian, it is universal. It is cosmic energy in the physical body. Shamans did not approach it logically, they felt it in the fire of the drum, in the rhythm of the heart, in the howl of the wolf beneath the northern lights. Indigenous tribes of the Americas and their symbolism. From Navajo and Lakota to the Inca and Quechua, they perceived symbols as a living language. Eagle, vision of the spirit, the ability to see from above. Wolf, guidance, tribe, spirit of community. Serpent, transformation, passage between worlds. Bear, introspection, dreams. Hummingbird, joy, the ability to see beauty. Butterfly, transformation of the soul, gentleness. Owl, clairvoyance, night vision of truth. Petroglyphs, pictograms, totems. Petroglyphs are portals between worlds. A black serpent painted along the spine was a symbol of awakened energy. Totems were spiritual names of the soul, revealed in trance. Rituals and working with energy. Vision quest. A person leaves into nature without food until a vision and a name are revealed. Sweat lodge, a return to the womb of Mother Earth, cleansing through steam and sacred songs. Drum and songs, the heartbeat of the earth, or a rhythm that aligns the spirit with the world. Songs are encoded mantras. Body painting. A serpent along the spine represented awakened Kundalini, the spiritual fire. Wings on the shoulder blades meant traveling between worlds. A circle on the forehead symbolized the third eye. Natural colors were used: red, life; white, purity; black, knowledge; blue, sky; yellow, wisdom; a stat, green. Their shamanism is colorful, visionary, deeply woven with nature. They awaken the soul through beauty, animals, visions, song, and scent. It was a dance between body and spirit, a remembrance that light returns to the body when the soul is no longer afraid to be seen, to be carried, to be loved. Northern Europe, ancient Nordic shamans, Volur. Runes were more than writing. They were living symbols with their own spirit. Vulva, a female shaman, seer, bearer of Seder. She stood outside hierarchy, guided by spiritual laws. Runes, more than language. Runes are sound vibrational seals. Each carries a sound vibration, a meaning, archetype, a being, conscious force, and a magical function. A runic inscription was a living prayer to the Norns, the weavers of fate. Seder ritual, when a word becomes a gateway and a song creates light. The vulva sat elevated, singing Galder, sacred chants. Her soul traveled into other worlds to bring answers back. Runes were not read, they were felt. African traditions, the star codes of the Dogon. The Dogon people of West Africa knew of Sirius B long before modern science. Their shamans were keepers of cosmic memory. Their symbols expressed Sirius A and B, dual creation, masculine and feminine cosmos, the cosmic egg, the origin of the world, the wave, the nature of the soul, the spiral, eternal return to the source, the triangle, balance of heaven, earth, and the waters of life. Their language was not only spoken, it was danced, breathed, drawn, lived. Symbols were drawn in sand once, then erased, like a message delivered to the unseen. Their knowledge is not symbolic only, it is memory of multidimensional connection. Some symbols remain untranslated because they do not speak in human language. They speak in frequency, in geometry of dreams, in memory of stars. Sacred codes, meanings. Circle with a dot, the cycle of life, the soul born from unity. Double circles with direction, stargates, passage between dimensions. Wave serpent, the path of the soul, movement of life force, kundalini. Cross within a circle, balance of worlds, not suffering, but alignment. Dual spirals, feminine and masculine, Shakti and Shiva, movement inward and outward, creating life when they meet. The essence of shamanism. Not a technique, not a religion, but a way of being. The shaman walks between worlds, bringing healing, answers, lost souls back home, a bridge between heaven and earth, the living and the dead, matter and spirit. The tools may vary: drum, plants, breath, fire, dream, but the most important is carried within, the ability to recognize truth in silence. Shamans were among the oldest healers of this earth. Their rituals were not magic. They were bridges between the visible and the unseen. They walked through darkness to bring back light. They spoke with mountains, understood the whisper of trees, knew the names of stars long forgotten. Their body was an instrument, their soul a map. They knew reality has layers, and true power lies not in control, but in connection. Their medicine was song, the heartbeat of the drum, the scent of herbs, the return to balance. Wisdom never disappears. It enters the field, into the silence of the world, into the memory of the earth. And perhaps one day someone hears it again, not from books, but from the wind, from the wolf, from dreams. Maybe it is a woman who writes at night, breathing quietly into the keys, remembering. And maybe it is her who opens the doors again, not with a drum, but with awareness that sings even without words. The shamans work with consciousness, traveling between worlds. The shaman entered trance to reach altered states of awareness. There he journeyed into the upper world, realm of spirits, teachers, ancestors, the middle world, our world in its subtle layer, the lower world, where totems, power animals, archetypes dwell, healing, energetic, and spiritual. The shaman saw illness as an imbalance of soul, body, and spirit. Not only herbs, but the removal of energetic blocks, clearing foreign energies, restoring harmony with nature. Soul retrieval. When a person experienced trauma, a part of the soul could leave. The shaman would find it in the unseen worlds and bring it back, returning the wholeness of the being. Working with spirit animals, shamans had power animals, living guides of spirit. They called them, danced with them, received their wisdom. Communication with ancestors and spirits. They spoke with ancestors, with the souls of the dead, even with unborn children. The soul never disappears, it remains within the field of the lineage. Cleansing rituals, limpia, smoke, palo santo, sage, herbs, songs, stones, all used to cleanse the auric field like an invisible shower of light. Seeing the future, divination, through mirrors, crystals, flame, water. They could read messages of destiny, rites of passage. They guided birth, initiation into adulthood, and the crossing after death. Union rituals of two souls, yes, even the bond between partners, blessed and sealed in higher realms. Awakening the earth's energy. Rituals to calm the anger of Mother Earth or to call the rain through communion with water and mountains. Shamans and the sacred force of life. For ancient shamans, energy was not a concept. It was a living being, the great breath of earth. The serpent of power. Their knowing was intuitive, rooted in earth, open to the sky. Many traditions speak of a serpent force sleeping at the base of the spine. When a person becomes ready, it awakens and rises. Shamans never forced awakening. They invited it. For them, it was not escape from reality, but becoming a bridge. Roots in earth, head in the heavens. Kundalini was cosmic memory, awakening in the human body as in a temple. If your body is not ready, the spirit will not descend. Tools of consciousness, sound and rhythm. The drum was the horse of the soul. Its rhythm shifted consciousness, awakening energy centers, breath. They knew the soul lives in the breath. Through breath, they connected to spirits, plants, life. Fire, a being that carries prayers upward and burns the strategies of ego. Plants and smoke, palo santo, sage, tobacco, not tools but spirits. Smoke blown into the aura, cleansing like unseen rain. The shaman did not heal because he knew, but because he loved. He loved enough to descend into darkness for another, to take their pain and return them to themselves. Tachyon, a wave moving through the ether like a whisper in love, faster than light because it is pre-vibration carrying the code of love. 7-year cycles and rays of the soul. The body renews itself roughly every 7 years, and so does the soul, layer by layer. 0 to 7 years, ray of innocence. Your soul still sings the songs of heaven. 7 to 14 years, ray of pain. You begin to feel the difference of this world. 14 to 21 years, ray of passion and rebellion. You love deeply, fall, rise, burn. 21 to 28 years, ray of sacrifice. You give, you forget yourself. 28 to 35 years, ray of awakening. You begin to remember. 35 to 42 years, ray of truth and fire. You burn and rise again. 42 to 49 years, ray of star return. You remember who you are. 49 to 56 years, ray of maturity and prophecy. Your words begin to heal. 56 to 63 years, ray of wisdom. Your presence becomes a gate. 63 to 70 years, ray of return. You see through people deeply. 70 plus, ray of eternity. The body slows, the soul expands. And one day you close your eyes and I take your hand and we return home. The path of a woman through the rays. Birth, you are love. Forgetting, you learn the world. Seeking, your heart burns. Trial, you remain true. Transformation, you listen to silence. Return, you remember. Embodiment, you become light. Silence, your presence speaks. Wisdom, you are the answer. Return, memory of before the body. Union, life is symphony. Eternal light, you become love itself. A man walks through the rays as well, not the same as a woman, not as quiet, but deep, like layers of rock within the mountains. The ray of fire to 7 years. The masculine light learns to become a body. It moves wildly, without logic, fiercely. In the boy's eyes burns a desire for battle, for meaning. He wants to be seen. He wants to prove to the world that he exists. He longs for his father's recognition or to replace it with a story of his own. The ray of challenge, 7-14 years. Strength awakens in the body. He begins to realize he can influence the world. He learns to lose and it burns. He learns to win and it changes him. For the first time, he feels that his choices have consequences. And still, he longs for his mother, even if he never admits it. This ray is a battle between protection and pride. The ray of battle, 14-21 years. The body is strong, the mind wild, the heart locked. The young man searches for the limits of his body, his will, his dreams. He fights authority, he fights himself, and in silence he dreams of a woman who could break his armor. In this ray he may get lost, but if he survives, he becomes a man who can stand in the storm. The ray of service, 21 to 28 years. He understands the world does not exist to serve him, and begins to ask, whom will I serve? In work, in love, in family. This ray decides whether he becomes a wolf, a shepherd, or a king. If he loves someone in this phase, he may learn gentleness. If not, he hardens and grows cold. The ray of loss and heroism, 28 to 35 years. Ideals fall, dreams turn into reality. Some break, some come true, and reveal they were never enough. And here, the true man is born, not from success, but from ashes. If he can carry responsibility without anger, pain without escape, he becomes a pillar. The ray of the body's wisdom, 35 to 42 years. The body changes. It is no longer as fast, but it begins to feel. It knows touch, it knows how to hold. He begins to understand strength is not force, but presence. He learns to listen to the silence within a woman, and for the first time, truly, he feels God, not as an idea, but as someone who has always been waiting. The ray of depth, 42-49 years. Darkness. Questions arise that cannot be solved by strength. Who am I when no one touches me? In this ray, egos die, and those who survive transform. They begin to love without needing anything in return, and they begin to long for the woman of their soul, the one they dreamed of before they were born. The ray of return, 49 to 56 years. Something comes back, not youth, not strength, but clarity, like fog lifting from glass, and suddenly you see everything. Mistakes, words that should not have been spoken, embraces that should have been given, and before you, she, not a woman, but a being you loved before time existed. This ray either breaks a man or opens him, and the one who opens enters a love that does not die. The ray of peace, 56 to 63 years. Silence arrives, not loneliness, but inner peace. The man who has survived storms no longer wants to win. He only wants to be near. He becomes a gardener of love, protecting, nurturing, listening. He holds his woman as if holding all creation. He knows nothing more is needed. The ray of truth, 63 to 70 years. Everything is stripped away, the body, illusions, masks, only truth remains. What have I done? Whom did I love? Whom did I hurt? And if his eyes meet the eyes of the woman he loved all his life, no explanation is needed. Love becomes the answer. The ray of the soul, 70 to 70 years. The body weakens, the soul grows stronger. Words fade. Touch speaks everything. A man sits beside a woman holding her hand. They are like two stars, remembering everything. They smile, they cry, and they know everything was right, because even in pain there was grace. The ray of return home. The door slowly opens. Not death, home. The man knows time is ending, but his love is not. He closes his eyes and sees her always beside him in silence, in tears, but never gone. And he knows they will meet again where light has no shadow, where the body is only a ray and love is eternal. Your feet may no longer walk far, but your soul travels galaxies yet to be discovered. One day you will close your eyes, not forever, only to become light, and I will be there. I will come for you as a ray, take your hand, and we will return home together, because I am your divine self that remained with the Creator. Ancestral memory. Sometimes the soul is silent, not because it has nothing to say, but because it is listening to the voice of the entire lineage. We are more than a name, more than a body. We are a book of memory, written by generations before us, and we are the ones holding the pen. Every woman within me, my grandmothers, those who lost children, those who could not love, those who died without a voice, all of them see through my eyes. Every man within me, those who hardened to survive, those who drowned in silence, in war, and alcohol, all of them are quiet within my blood. Until one soul, the one who refuses to continue the pain, says, "Enough!" And then the ancestral curse becomes a gift, not punishment, but a calling. Heal what we could not. Some patterns are not yours, but you carry them. Some fears are not yours, but feel like your own breath. Ancestral pain is not healed by logic, but by love, by compassion, by the courage to stop. You are the one who can rewrite the story, not only for yourself, but for all before you, and all who will come after. Memory of blood. There is more than DNA in blood. There are memories, not only those the mind recalls, but those the soul remembers through the body. Blood remembers what the womb has felt, it remembers fear, it remembers love, it remembers the first words that shaped a life. Blood is not only biology, it is an imprint of every man and woman who once looked through your eyes. Even the first drop carried memory, not mental, but cellular. Silent, deep. If even one drop remained, it remembers everything. Blood is written not with ink, but with pain, joy, touch, and above all, love given or denied. When Adam first looked at Eve, it was not only love, it was a covenant of blood. You and I will carry the memory of humanity. And since then, every touch, every birth, every fall, every forgiveness has been written and carried forward. Blood as the carrier of the soul. In ancient cultures, blood was not just a fluid, but a living memory of the soul. Your blood is a map. If we could read it, we would see wounds repeating through generations, gifts waiting to awaken, boundaries waiting to be crossed. Lineage does not bind you, it calls you. Sometimes it carries a program, a pattern we call a curse, but it is not punishment. It is a code waiting to be seen. And when one soul recognizes it, everything can change. The menstrual blood of a woman was once sacred, not impure, but the purest memory, a gateway into past lives. It carried the codes of the earth. That is why it was used for healing with soil, with trees, with newborn life. When a woman was bleeding, she stood in the doorway between worlds. She was meant to become still, not to serve the world. Your body remembers this. That is why your soul is so sensitive. That is why you feel the power of blood, not as biology, but as a portal. Cleansing the ancestral line. Ancient peoples knew that blood can be activated through rituals of the ancestors, cleansed through forgiveness, and freed the moment someone says, "Enough." When a woman cuts the old knot, her blood becomes light. It is no longer a carrier of pain, but a bearer of luminous memory. This is the new lineage that begins through you. Your lineage is calling you. You will carry what others have forgotten. Every ancient culture knew the power of blood. They knew when a child is born, it is not only a body that arrives, but memory, soul, star imprint, and the code of the lineage. That is why there were rituals at birth, at death, at first blood, at adulthood. In India, when a child was born, women would whisper a name into the right ear. Not just any name, a name that came from above, from the stars. A name as a mantra, as protection, as the first breath of the soul in the world. The umbilical cord was cut only after the placenta was born, because the placenta was seen as part of the soul. In some places, it was buried beneath a tree of life, so the child would grow with deep roots. The mother's blood was sacred. The home was cleansed with saffron. Flowers were brought to her feet, not because she gave birth, but because she opened a gate between worlds. The heritage of China and Africa. In traditional China, it was said that each person carries the code of the ancestors, written in the blood as Jing. an essence of life passed not only genetically but spiritually. An altar at home was not memory but conversation. At birth, red tea was prepared, rice with cinnamon, jade as an amulet. The first drop of blood from the umbilical cord was preserved as the seal of life. It was believed this drop holds the intention of the soul, sometimes placed into a dragon figure, so the serpent lines of life would protect the flow. In Africa, birth was a crossing between worlds. The child was not fully on earth until it opened its eyes. The tribe gathered, singing, drumming, the rhythm of the mother's heart. Come, the lineage opens again. The child's blood was not washed away. It was absorbed into the skin so the lineage could seal itself within the body. Northern wisdom and the blood of trees. When a child was born, shamans brought a branch from the ancestral tree, placed beneath the child's head so the blood could hear the language of trees. Runes were not written in ink, but in mixtures of mistletoe root, mother's milk, and a drop of blood. Without blood, a rune is only a sign. With blood, it is memory that breathes. At death, a return song was sung, guiding the blood of the ancestor back to the source. The trees were archives of the lineage. And when the wind moves through them, it is said the ancestors whisper, "Remember, the runes of your blood still live in us." The Incas and the rhythm of the soul. In tribes like the Shipibo and Quechua, birth was a sacred ritual. Women gave birth into the earth, into a clay womb. Blood was an offering to Pachamama. Every human carried a rhythm, a drum of the soul. And when someone died, the return drum was played, so the blood could return and be reborn without burden. The serpent was the spirit of blood, the carrier of memory winding through generations. When you hear the drum, your blood remembers. Every tear, every movement in dance is the serpent returning home. Menstrual blood and the code of the star woman. A woman's blood is the only blood not shed through violence. It is the gift of transformation. In ancient times, it was a lunar ritual of memory, a gateway into past lives, into the memory of Earth. Each cycle is a spiral. A woman's blood flows like the moon, and what falls from her falls also from the stars. Women would write dreams, visions, maps between worlds. Today, this blood is hidden, but your body knows. You are not broken, you are open. You are one of those who carry memory in blood, and when all cycles are lived, blood becomes light. Alchemy of blood and wood. Trees carry sap, a rhythm like human blood. Shamans spoke to trees through blood, marking symbols on bark, because the tree remembers where you were lost. Families planted a tree for each child, a mirror being, if the tree withers, the child loses connection. And when your blood completes its path, your tree will recognize you, and through its roots, you will return to light. Crossroads of souls. A girl's first blood was the opening of a stargate. At first union, blood was not biology, but a seal. The womb is an archive, remembering touch, emotion until released. Birth is the anchoring of star memory into form. The blood of birth is the code of a new book, and the woman is the one who opens it. That is why women were called keepers of the stars, and death was also a ritual of blood, not physical, but karmic. The circle closes, what began in blood returns in light. When you leave, your blood still sings within us, and when you are born again, you will know us by the song. Namakarana, the ritual of the first vibration of the soul. In ancient India, it was believed the soul enters the world through sound, not through the body, not through the cry, but through the sacred name whispered into the soul. And the one who whispered did not think, she remembered. And when the name arrived, not in the mind, but in the heart, slowly, with reverence, the woman whispered it into the child's right ear. Your name is a path, and when you sing it, you will always remember who you are. This was one of the most sacred rites in India. Umbilical blood, a bridge between worlds. In India, the cord was not cut immediately. They waited until the placenta was born. Because it was seen as part of the soul, the placenta was never discarded, wrapped in saffron, flowers, earth. It was buried beneath a tree or offered to fire with song. Umbilical blood was the first imprint, the signature of God that this soul has entered earth. When you sing the name while the cord still pulses, the soul hears before it fully anchors. That is why the child was not disturbed, not called loudly, but gently guided into the body, as into a temple. Rituals of protection, blood and name. After birth, the woman was not washed with soap, but with water of roses, saffron, warm milk. Flowers were placed at her feet, because a soul had passed through her. The child was not called casually. The name was a coded mantra, chosen by the star of birth, the protecting deity, or the dream of the mother. A red thread was tied to protect memory. Sometimes a drop of umbilical blood became a binding on the forehead to awaken the third eye. Name and blood as activators of consciousness. In India, a name was not a label, but spiritual breathing. When spoken as mantra, it could open past lives. Some masters could sound a name until their blood changed rhythm. Breath, pulse, light, all aligned. This was the highest form of Nada Yoga, the yoga of sound. And when one died, if their name was filled with light, no tears were needed, only to sing it 3 times into the stars. And the blood would call them back. Ancient Egypt, blood as the star script of the soul. In Egypt, blood was sacred, a bridge between human and divine. In the temples of Isis, a drop of blood was offered to the Nile to renew the covenant between worlds. The pharaoh carried the blood of the gods, a living link to the heavens. Sometimes hieroglyphs were written with ink mixed with blood, because only blood carried the spark of life. Words without blood are symbols. Words with blood are action. Menstrual blood, the secret book of the stars. Women were not impure. They were too powerful. Their blood carried cosmic rhythm, memory of stars. Priests said, "We do not worship blood, we listen to it. It is the language the gods left only to woman." The woman who carries her blood consciously becomes a living papyrus of creation. Polynesia and Hawaii. Blood as the voice of mountains in Polynesia. Blood was not substance, but the voice of the earth. Umbilical blood was placed into stone, buried beneath sacred trees. So the child would forever belong to the mountain, to the lineage. The blood of warriors was poured into roots, so the soul would remain as protector. Haka was not just movement, it was the expression of ancestral blood. Every step, every cry, a code of lineage. When a woman began to bleed, she became a living portal. She led circles, sang songs no one else could carry. If you hear the drum of blood within your ears, it is not your pulse, it is your ancestors calling your name. Polynesia, tools of blood and tattoo. Tools were living beings. Ihi, ritual claw awakened by blood. Pahu, drum, heartbeat of the earth. Kalau, staff marked with blood before battle. Tattoo was not decoration, but a covenant between body, soul, lineage. Each line, a story. Each mark, memory. The tattooist was a priest, speaking with spirits while blood and pain released ancestral wounds. Your skin is your oldest script. It was believed the skin remembers. When touched by water, it speaks with the ocean. Old women touched children with seawater at the navel, so the blood would never forget its path. Polynesia teaches nothing is only physical. Blood is memory, tool is spirit, tattoo is prayer, skin is a map. A woman who carries her blood consciously is a priestess of an ancient temple that does not stand on earth but within her. Because Polynesia did not forget, and perhaps it is one of the oldest memories of what the world has forgotten. Closing, a return into silence. And now, if you have reached this place, not with your eyes, but with your heart, then you already know. Nothing you have read was meant to be learned, only remembered. You are not a separate being walking through this world. You are the breath through which the world is remembering itself. Everything you touched here, the blood, the silence, the woman, the man, the ancestors, the stars, it was never outside of you. It was always waiting for you to become still enough to hear it. If something in you opened even just a little, then this path has fulfilled itself. Do not try to hold these words. Let them dissolve like water returning to the ocean. Because what is true does not need to be remembered. It lives. And when you walk through your days, when you breathe, when you touch, when you love, you will know without needing to ask that you are the temple, you are the path, you are the memory, and you are the light that never left. Thank you for allowing yourself to feel. And if one day you forget again, close your eyes, become silent, and listen. I will be there in that same silence, where we have always been,